We're here at the ZevBit booth at the Equip Expo with Ben Jennings, finally in person. Good to have you.
How you doing?
Doing well. So, yeah, I mean, if you just want to talk about your business, where you're from, what you do.
I do landscape construction out of Buffalo, New York. We do a lot of pavers, retaining walls, outdoor kitchens, drainage, that kind of thing. We also offer maintenance as well.
So, when did you start the business?
I formed the LLC about 2 years ago, and then I mowed lawns as a high schooler before then.
So, what was your progression of like going into business? Like when you started out, like how much revenue were you doing?
Our first year was about 70, 80K or so in revenue, and that was mostly mowing lawns and that sort of thing. And over the winter, I joined a group called Go Gang, and that's how I met Alex. That's kind of how I started to get in those bigger projects and pavers, outdoor living space, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I remember when we first talked to you, it was like introducing you to production rates. How was that shift in your business, kind of thinking about more man hours versus just looking at a job and be like, oh, it's going to be X price?
When I first met Alex, he would always tell me about your overhead rate, your production rate, all that other good stuff. And I had no idea what a production rate was. I was just mowing lawns, just kind of doing my thing. And I was just, chucking a price out there, finding the material, and then just kind of like guessing how much it would be. And he kind of took me through a spreadsheet, went through all my numbers, and I have some data from like how long jobs take us. So we figured out what my production rates are for certain services, like how long a square footage of pavers would take. So once I figured out my production rate and my overhead, I was able to understand my business much better. I know what my overhead is for the entire year, and then that way with the man hours and the guys I have, I can account for all my overhead and then focus on the profit afterwards. It's just a really cool way, or a really different way to look at your business. A lot of guys, including me, when you first start out, you're just mowing lawns, kind of doing your thing, just trying to fill up your schedule. And then especially once you get to those bigger projects, you really need to understand your numbers, because it's pretty easy to lose money on a big job if you don't know your numbers. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, so learning the production rates is huge. And then, I mean, last year, kind of tell them where you ended the season, the revenue wise, and how much money you had in the bank.
Last season, we did about 225, I think 227 maybe. And going into the winter, we had about 8-10 grand in a business bank account, and I was just super discouraged. And a big part of that was just not knowing my numbers and not accounting for overhead properly. This year, we'll probably hit about 350 or so, 350 to 400K in revenue, and we're in a much better spot going into winter. We got money now for advertising over the winter to get a head start on next year. So yeah, the overhead was a huge help.
That was a pivotal change in your business to work with you, understand what are indirect costs and actually how it looks on the back end of how to recover your overhead. And this year you're going to be sitting way more pretty going into winter. And then two, what Ben does well too is he works with an accountant every month, and you like get profit and loss statements every month as well.
Yeah, profit and loss every month.
What's that process look like?
So we use QuickBooks to keep track of all of our invoicing, all of our expenses and everything. And basically at the end of every month, I send my accountant my total revenue. He can go into the bank account as well and see the total revenue. And then I'll just send him a bank statement, and that has all of our expenses on it. And he'll basically go through and mark anything he's not sure of and then designate it to the right category. And that way I can see a true profit and loss statement for every month.
Nice. That's 100% the way you should be doing it. And you were using Jobber before. So what's the pros and cons versus using Jobber and now using ZevBit?
I started using Jobber at the end of last year, and Jobber was an okay software. It worked for what I needed it to do. But one of the big problems with Jobber is they don't have templates, and they don't have anything relating to your production capacity, overhead, any of that. It's kind of just line item by line item. You do your materials and labor and, rental equipment and all that other good stuff. And before you know it, it takes 30, 40 minutes to send out a big quote for like a big outdoor living space. And once Alex showed me my production rates and overhead and everything, once I got my numbers into ZevBit, I sent out like 1,000 square foot patio quote in 5 minutes, because the software saves the material, what your markup is, your overhead rate, and you just take your previous data for how long it took you for previous jobs and you apply it to the new one. And it spits out your number, how much it's going to cost you, auto-populates your contract and everything. You send it over, and yeah, you can write a big quote within 5 minutes, and the customer could go in there, review everything, ask for any changes, and then if they're all good with it, they can sign it digitally right there. And yeah, you can have a signed contract within 5-10 minutes of sending it over.
And like you get to see your gross profit and net profit. So like early in the year, a little bit less net profit you're going for, and then as you get booked up, probably going for more net profit. What do you do for like leads or like online marketing and branding?
Right now, we're going to be doing a rebrand over the winter, but I'll speak on what we've been doing the past year or two. I started out my business just door knocking when COVID started. I formed the LLC in 2021, but I was 2020 when COVID happened, as I just was still doing it on the side. But basically, I went door knocking through my whole neighborhood. I got about 15 to 20 mulch saws because New York State wouldn't let us do any landscaping, only maintenance like lawn mowing. So I got my first 20 to 30 customers there. And then after that, I started posting in free Facebook groups, just put my number out there, what we do, that sort of thing. Last year, especially, once I joined Goat Gang and talking to Alex a ton and some of the other guys in that group, I figured out about your Facebook ads and your Google ads, and I've been trying to figure out how to run them. Still have a lot to learn, but they are a very good resource if you know how to use them, and it's a quick way to get jobs and scale. Google, Facebook is where we get a lot of our leads from, and then we built our first like solid customer base from referral.
Yep, tackling the Facebook. And I'm still surprised how you use not too much in advertising. So next year, you're going to shoot for what in revenue?
We're going to go for about 600 to 700K. We're going to try to do a nice, easy, steady 2X every single year and not go too crazy. But yeah, I'm really excited with the rebrand we have going on and knowing how to do Facebook and Google ads now. Most of my revenue this year came from referrals and free posts and groups. Now that I know how to do, your Facebook and your Google, I'm really excited to see where it takes us for next year.
Sweet. And then getting more serious into snow this year. So that'll be fun to see how that goes.
Yeah, first year doing snow removal. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Get some numbers and then learn and grow for next year.
Yeah.
How's the show treating you?
It was good. A lot of cool brands, a lot of stands as well, a bunch of walking, but it was really nice to demo a lot of the equipment and kind of see in like a real life setting. They got, the Caterpillar, John Deere, Bobcat, they got dirt for you to move around, different things for you to try. But it's just really cool seeing all the new technology, networking, meeting a lot of other contractors here and how other people do it in different states. But yeah, overall, it's a great event. It's a great way to learn, especially for new guys getting into the field. If a new guy comes across ZevBit and they don't know anything about production rates or overhead, these guys will hook you up 5-10 minutes on a little Zoom demo. And before you know it, you're starting to understand your overhead and your production rates. And that's what a lot of those big companies do to grow and scale. So it just kind of shifts your mindset a little bit.
Nice. And are you going to go with the MT100 or you go Ditch Witch?
I'm going to go Ditch Witch.
Yeah.
Bobcat.
So throw that into your overhead sheet, see what that looks like. That's awesome. Yeah, cool, Ben. Well, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Good meeting you in person finally.
Thank you.
It's sweet. Yeah.